Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this Canmore Local Assessment Review Board hearing. We are here today to review the complaint and the subsequent evidence as filed for tax roll number 20504. The municipal address of the property is Unit 310, 600 Spring Creek Drive. I'll start by introducing the panel, and then I'll ask for the parties to introduce themselves. After that, I'll explain our standard hearing procedure and ask for comments in that regard. My name's Andrea Williams, and I'm the presiding officer appointed to this panel. The other panel members with me today are, to my left,
Karen Mara.
And to my right,
Martin Buckley.
Does anyone have any objection with the panel as constituted?
No.
Okay. I'm now going to have the parties introduce themselves, starting with the complainant. Would you please come to the microphone, state for the record your name and your role in the hearing, and please indicate whether you are the owner of the property that's under complaint.
Ron Hunka, address 310, 600 Spring Drive, owner of the property.
Okay, thank you. And will you also please state for the record your name, organisation, and your position with the municipality?
My name is Kelly Larson. I'm with Equitable Assessment Group, assessor for the town of Canmore.
Okay, thank you. So the Local Assessment Review Board standard practice is to have the complainant present all of their evidence first, followed by questions from the respondent and then also from the panel. Next, the respondent will present their evidence, followed once again by questions from the complainant and then the panel. The complainant will then have an opportunity for rebuttal. Finally, both parties will have an opportunity to present their final argument and summarise their evidence for the panel, with the complainant presenting first. If anyone needs a break during the hearing or if a problem comes up, please let us know as soon as possible and we can address those things as we go. Are there any questions regarding the procedure today, or is everybody satisfied with the processes?
Ms. Williams, I have a preliminary question here. Mr. Hunka, the complainant name on the complainant form indicates RESQ Consultants Limited. Is the property registered under that name, or is the property registered in your name? We don't have a copy of the title.
Yeah, the property's registered, and I'm the president of that company. On title, it's owned by my company.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? And did anyone else have any questions regarding the process? Okay. I see that both parties have exchanged disclosure evidence before the hearing. To save time, I'm going to propose that we mark all the documents for the record now. That won't stop anyone raising questions about their admissibility later. If any questions arise, we can deal with them and strike material from the record later if necessary. Is everybody comfortable with this procedure? Okay. So in terms of the evidence, I have labelled as C1A. It is 4 pages, and it's the complainant's complaint form, together with 3 further pages. Looks like this. Yep. That's right. Okay, so it's 4 pages. So the complaint form, this page here, this page here, this page here.
Oh, that's not it's the actual complaint.
Oh, okay, yes.
Okay.
Not the disclosure.
Okay, so this is, we're labelling as C1A, just for the record. I also have C1B, 5 pages.
Oh, that's what it is.
Okay. I also have material from Ms. Larson, which we've labelled as R1, which is 6 pages long. Looks like this. Yep. And then finally, the material labelled as C2, which is a single page dated September 5, 2019. Okay, are there any other preliminary matters for the panel to address before we get started? No? Okay. Mr. Hunker, we're ready to hear your evidence if you're set to go ahead.
Am I allowed to, I'm not quite sure the procedure here, so my original disclosure, the 5 pages, can I go through that first before my rebuttal?
Yes.
Okay. So on page 1, there's a bit of a photocopy from a previous assessor that I believe was in Canmore and Banff, Frank Watson, and just the highlighted portion, which probably doesn't really show up, it says, for apartments or condominiums, which 310 is, a method based on square footage of land and building values are used for residential properties and take into account zoning, size of lot, age, quality of home, etc. So attached from that, from tax assessor Frank Watson, using this premise, I took 7 units within our 40-plus building, and using the 2019 assessed values of these units, I divided the assessed values by the square footage on the legal registered plan at land titles, which is on page 2. And so those 7 particular units, and I just came up with a price per square foot, and then meaned it out. Then took the square footage of my unit, and when I multiplied the 2, the assessment actually came in lower than my 2018 value. That's just based on math. And then attached to is a legal registered plan. Page 3 is actually using the dimensions off that legal registered plan to compute the square footage of my property. And when I did that, because I actually do, my company does do registered area calculations for commercial buildings to BOMA standards and things, and so we use a combination of robotics equipment, GPS equipment, and laser measurements. So when I did this and built this off the registered plan, I found that my area was in error by about 56 square feet or so. The legal registered plan shows that it's at 1,012 when it's actually 961. So I actually overpaid my taxes for about 7 years on this property, but anyway, it was corrected in 2018, last year, and so that's something that was brought to Kelly's attention at the time. So I don't know, short of going into all the other units, whether they were incorrect and ever corrected. Page 4. The fact it's a 40-plus building and marketability is lessened in comparison should not be made to the other buildings, which are not plus 40. And I have a number of attachments from different companies that state that. I don't know if I'm allowed to read that, because is that considered new evidence, or
You're allowed to,
quote it?
well, evidence that's in your material that you've given to us, we can accept here. So if it's not in this package that's been submitted, I do not believe we can accept that.
It's reference to, I guess it's, all it is I was going to quote which company, why this 40-plus building is, and which companies have stated that the the marketability is lessened because of the fact that it's an age-restricted building.
Mhm.
So that's fine. So I can't say which companies they are.
No, I believe that's evidence that should have been submitted in time,
Okay,
under the
that's
time
fine.
requirements. So
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I brought it just in case, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
You
point-
have, the respondent doesn't have a chance to examine that evidence as well, so it's procedural fairness.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Point 2 on page 4, the unit above me, 405, is a penthouse. She was able to reduce her assessed value simply by talking to Kelly and did not have to go through this process. Her assessment went from $556,200 to $517,300, a drop of $38,900, or the net result is only a 2% increase in her 2019 assessment, not the 10% that is common across Canmore right now. And then Unit 110, directly below my unit, has had an assessed increase of only 4.4% since 2017, and yet my actual assessment had jumped 10.83%. So point number 4, my unit faces a CP track, and due to the fire smart thinning of trees this summer and the frequency of trains per day, 22 to 27 trains, and the attachment on the last page was from CP Rail themselves. The noise has increased dramatically, which really has made a noticeable difference trying to sleep, because there's 24 to 27 or 22 to 27 trains a day go by there. So, and the vibrations and the noise is just the thinning of the trees has made a significant difference. So, not to mention our parkade has flooded 3 times, but. And some examples in our building that only appears assessments are not correct. So Unit 205 in 2019 was assessed at $768,700, which I found out subsequently dropped when the respondent submitted her disclosure to me. It actually sold for $596, so it was like about 170 some odd thousand lower. Unit 309 was assessed at $706,400 and sold for $610, again close to $100,000 less. And Unit 307 was actually a bit of an anomaly. It was assessed at $675,400 and sold for higher, but it was fully furnished. And then those numbers changed slightly in the respondent's submission package to me. Point 6, further to the email of August 15th, if in fact my assessment is based with similar units on square footage and a small increase due to higher floors, then Unit 208, which is $446 a square foot on the second floor, and Unit 405 on the 4th floor at 511 would mean I would mean out at about $478.50 times my square footage would even drop it even lower, and nowhere near the 544.9. So I won't go through page 5 because that's just an email from CP Rail. So that was the presentation of my original submission.
Is there any other comments that you would like to make?
In regards to the original submission. Well, I can't quote, like I said, the numbers, it's part of the same submission, but they were, in regards to what was submitted, no, that's the only thing that I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'll ask you to take a seat and...
Can I, sorry, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, can I also, at this point, can I do my rebuttal, or?
You'll have an opportunity for
no.
rebuttal
Okay.
at the
Sorry,
end.
Andrea, that's what we were going to clarify. You can talk about any of your evidence at this point. So you can actually talk
Yeah.
about your rebuttal evidence. You can reference your original complaint form. Anything that you have already submitted can be discussed at this point. You will still get an opportunity for rebuttal after the respondent has...
Okay, so all I wanted to do is just clarify this one page rebuttal.
Okay, sure.
And then, so on September 5th, point number 1, complainant's response to September 3rd respondent submission. So in review of my documentation, in review of the documentation provided by Kelly Larson, page 2, and this is just incorrectly listed my 2017 and 2018 tax assessments. 2017 was in fact $529,000, and in 2018 it actually dropped to $494,800 after the correct square footage of my unit was reported in the 2017 assessment appeal. Point 2, in the respondents table A, 20 sales are shown when in fact 16 properties are reported. The other 4 were multiple sales of the same units. And as I said in my original submission, Unit 307 sort of skews the price because it was sold fully furnished. Point 3, of greater concern is the reported square footage of all units listed in Table A and Table B. My opinion is they were incorrect because what is registered at land titles under that legal plan, 0814219, actually lists this, reporting such smaller square footage results in higher cost per square foot. I was just in Kelly's submission, I was hoping she would advise how her square footages were listed. And point number 4, the 3 reported properties she listed in red in Table A as comparable in size are in fact 266 square feet larger than my unit, one of them, and the other 2 were larger. But in using her adjusted sale price, which again I'm hoping for an explanation because I don't totally understand what adjusted sale price is as opposed to actual sale price. So I took her adjusted sales price, divided those 3 properties by the correct square footage, and it came out to a mean of $511.07 a square foot. 2 are on the 2nd floor, 1 is on the 1st floor, and unit 405 directly above mine at a penthouse is at $511.17 a square foot, so 10 cents different. And then so using the quote of value per square foot increases per floor as you go up, and all these units are built to the same standards with marble, hardwood floors, and stainless steel appliances, things like that. It would then mean mine would mean out at $511.12 a square foot times the square footage in point number 6 would mean my assessment should be at $491,186. But I'm not asking that amount is in Table 7. I already point 7 referenced what I read earlier, so I think this covers the other submission, is that I just wanted to have submitted from my original request of $480,088 to $491,186. And that's on this rebuttal.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Larson, can I please ask if you have any questions with regard to that? Sorry about that.
I think I can address anything.
Sorry, could you speak at the microphone? Thank you.
I don't have any questions. I just can address it when I do my response.
Right, okay. Did you have any questions? And Martin, questions?
I have quite a few questions of Mr. Hunka, if I could, please. Thank you. I'm going to flip back and forth from some of your documents here because I have some questions on them. I'll start with C1B and the statements that came from Frank Watson, that little clipping there.
Okay.
Can you tell me where that clipping came from?
It was actually out of Rocky Mountain Outlook.
So it's a media clipping.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so it's possible that the media didn't get it correct?
I have actually spoke with Frank in the past when he was still with Canmore back in between the years about 2010 when I purchased the property and 2015. So this is a similar to what he had told me when we spoke.
Okay, that brings to light my second part of the question. Do you know the date of this statement, when it was made?
The news article here?
Yes.
It would be about spring of this year.
Spring of 2019.
Yeah. I could it definitely was in this year's paper.
Okay, thank you. On that same page, you list 7 units. Now, I'm aware that the numbering of the units in that complex vary, that necessarily if it's got a 2 behind it doesn't mean it's on the 2nd floor, it could be on the 3rd floor, or something to that effect. The numbering isn't consistent. How did you come to choose those 7 units? What was the rationale behind it?
They were the ones that were as close to my square footage because some of the units are quite a bit larger. So all of them were as close to 961 square feet as I can get. So one was a bit smaller and the other ones were, the closest one was in fact unit 405, which is 1,012 square feet. So I tried to only take the closest 7, that's all.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You mentioned the square foot correction, that was, you measured the unit yourself, found it to be smaller, and you said it was accepted. How? Was it the registered plan changed? Did Southern Alberta Land Titles Office issue a document stating that the correction was made? How has it officially been recognized?
On page 2, on page 2 was one portion. It's the legal registered plan is actually, I believe, 4 pages. Page 2 shows the outline of the unit, and then one of the further pages in has the condo unit factors and stuff like that. And on it, and actually on this same one, but if you blow it up, are dimensions of the unit, and those dimensions I verified, which is on page 3. Those are the same dimensions that are on that legal registered plan. So I put it on AutoCAD, and I laser measured everything and got within millimeters of what they show on the legal registered plan. And on AutoCAD, it plotted out to be 961 square feet. And that's inside paint to inside paint, which is the standard which is measured for residential properties in Alberta, the RMS standard.
So the measurement on the registered plan, the original registered plan 081, I'm not sure the full legal description, but that registered number,
Yes.
was incorrect on the registered plan?
No, the dimensions are correct on the legal registered plan of the unit.
Okay.
The area reported on the legal registered plan is incorrect in their table.
Okay. Thank you on that.
Yeah.
And my last question,
And sorry, Mr. Buckley, because my company is inactive now, but it's been active when I was a resident in St. Albert from 1993. I incorporated in 1993 and bought my property in 2010. When I moved here full-time in 2016, my company's inactive now, but the title is still owned by my company. Still have the equipment, stuff like that, but my account with land titles goes back to the inception of the company, so I have access to all these legal registered plans and to all this, and I deal with land surveyors a lot. Mistakes are occasionally made at land titles, and then submissions have to be submitted to them to be corrected. But with government cutbacks and everything like that, most errors that are reported, unless they actually can do harm or damage, usually don't get corrected.
okay.
You know?
My final question is with respect to R1, the submission from Ms. Larson as the respondent. And I believe you had a copy of this.
Yes.
That's her document that was submitted.
Yeah.
Yep, you had that. So between that document and your C2, your rebuttal document, the complainant response to the September 3rd respondent submission, you apparently, this was dated September 3rd. Your response was dated September 5th. So, and today is September 11th. And you've asked some questions in here, and I guess my question to you is you've had the opportunity to meet with Ms. Larson to discuss this. Did you meet with her after this was issued to further discuss and get your questions answered that were raised here?
No, actually, we have never met. This is the first time. I've spoken with her in 2017 when this came to light about the square footage by email communication. And it's not uncommon, what I'm finding in today's society, it's not uncommon to actually email a person for quite a while if you ever do meet them. I had a case where I emailed a client for 5 years before I ever met him. So Kelly and me have corresponded in 2017 when this correction took place, and then early in 2019, a few emails were exchanged, but today is the first time I've actually personally met her.
My concern is that in point number 3 of your response, you say, please advise where you got the square footage you have listed. And then a little later on in number 4, you state, but using your adjusted sales price, which I do not understand. And I guess what I was asking is, did you address those questions to Ms. Larson and get them answered?
No, I was hoping they would get addressed at today's meeting.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So, Ms. Larson, if you would like to come and present your evidence.
No worries. Thank you. This property, as we all know, is located at 310 600 Spring Creek Drive. I have a photograph of the property below, and 961 is the agreed upon area for this unit. The current assessment is $544,300, which is in the figure below. When in discussion with, I'm just going to bring to a point here from his rebuttal. He had commented on number 1 that page 2 incorrectly of my document incorrectly listed 2017 and 2018 amounts. 2017 and 28 here are assessment years and not tax years. 2018 is the 2019 tax year. 2017 is the 2018 tax year. So there's just a little bit of confusion there, I guess. The 4948 is what it was adjusted to for the 2018 tax year, and 2019 tax year is what's listed there. I don't have the 2017 tax year in there, so it's just the verbiage that was confusing there. Yeah. On page 3 of my report, I go through the Table A, which lists sales from 2015, 16, 17, and 18. And again, it shows all of the sales that had occurred there. And they're all within that same building, and the same restrictions apply to these, the 40 plus only. The sales indicate a median value per square foot of $584 on properties on the same floor highlighted in blue. I pulled the plan up in order to have a copy of that, and they list like floor 1 is floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, floor 4, so I'm unclear of, they seem to be corresponding with what I have, is what I'm trying to get at here, I guess. And the properties that sold in 2018 range between 655 to 776. Now the 776 apparently has some furniture in it, as the appellant had, complainant had noted, and so I would hazard to guess that the value, at most we offer a 10% for FF&E, So 700,000, I'm assuming, would be a fair estimate for what that sales price would be without the furniture. The subjects that in that range, though, I say are 200 square feet larger than this subject, and the appellant's opinion of value of 494 does not reflect that market value as of July 1st, 2018. The assessment comparison by the appellant doesn't seem to match the assessment record. I have taken the assessments of all of the properties at 600 and put them, Spring Creek Drive, and put them in a table per floor in that table B, and it indicates all of the broken out. And I guess if we go back to his question where he says, where do I get the square footage from? I pulled them off the plan, as so did he. And where we had our issue with his problem in the year before, if you look at the plan that he had submitted, I also have a copy of it here. On the first page, it lists every unit and it puts a square meter for each unit. That square meter also includes the parkade. So we minus off the parkade from that, and that was on the page 2 of the plan, and it indicates those square footages. We figure that out manually, subtract that off the front, so that is the value we come up with. And that came about when discussing with him his property being less than what was on the plan, and then going through and finding out that all of these had to have some sort of an adjustment based on the fact that the parkades were included in that square footage. Because once we looked at the actual square footages per unit. So that's what they've all been adjusted for. And so therefore, the square footages on the front of the plan, or square meters, don't match with what he's showing. He's showing them larger when we've got them less because they've reduced for their parkade space. So I think that is where our issue was with the year prior. So that's why my areas show a little bit less. So they are comparable to his in size. And when I look at that, each size, now, according to the plan, it shows units 100 to 111, or, all on the same floor, floor 1, or units 1 to 15, I guess. And then it indicates all of the assessments per square foot, just to have a breakdown so that he could see what they were, and that all of the sizes and the ranges are accordingly to his. So what I'm saying is that when he's looking at his argument that when he breaks down the sales prices and he uses a larger size, of course that brings that value per square foot down. And I'm arguing that these sizes are actually correct in the assessment at smaller, just like his was adjusted last year, these were adjusted going forward as well. So it changed everybody. So the appellant makes comparison to larger properties, therefore the value per square foot would be less and create an inequity amongst the other similar sized properties. The assessment is based on market value and in accordance with the matters relating to assessment and taxation regulation. The assessment experiences the same market conditions of the sales used in the analysis. All were affected and are affected by the restrictions of the age of 40 plus and are valid indicators. The subject property should not be adjusted below the values indicated, as it experiences no added negative market in comparison to the others. In regard to the train noises brought on because of tree thinning this summer, it's not relevant to the assessment for 2018, as the assessed value is based on a valuation date of July 1st, 2018, and we can only look at the market conditions from then. Anything occurring from the current tax year that can affect value should be reviewed for the 2019 assessment and 2020 tax year. Based on the sales that were in here at the 654 range, in the red, I guess on page 3 of my report, 915, 995, and 996 were the square footages of those units. Their prices per square foot are all listed there, and it's the adjusted price per square foot. The adjusted price per square foot is a time-adjusted value based on all of the sales all of the residential sales are plotted, and then each month are plotted on a chart, and then we do a best fit line that fits into there to show what the incremental increase per month would be, or decrease, because the charts can flow up and down, and then they're adjusted based on what they would be for July 1st, 2018. So if something sold in 2015, we do a time adjustment to get it to the value of July 1st, 2018. So that's where the adjusted sales price comes from, that's in the report. It sometimes can include other things, but in this case, it is just for sales prices. It would include, actually, for the one that sold for $776, for going forward, it would have an adjustment for that FF&E that was mentioned, the furniture, fixtures, and equipment that were sold with that property, and it would adjust downward, plus still have a time adjustment. I think I've addressed all of his questions in his report. Yes, and based on that information, I do believe that the valuation of $544,300 should be upheld.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hunker, do you have any questions of Ms. Larson?
Just a couple, in that the square footage, a standard parking stall in our parkade is 8.5 feet by 8.5 feet in width by 20 feet in length. And then I've checked quite a number of those stalls, and when I tried to compute that, and then I didn't come up because some units had double stalls and some only have single. And so I did that for a few units, and I didn't come up with the square footage again that yours did. That's why I was questioning where those numbers came from. But that aside, if the value per square foot increases as you go up in the floor, as page 4 of your submission, I don't understand how a unit above me, being a penthouse, unit 405, has actually had a 2% increase only when all the other units have had a 10% increase, and then unit 205 has actually had a 10% decrease, because their assessed value in 2018 was $698,800, then it jumped up to $768,700, then it was subsequently reduced to by $69,900 to what's on your table now, and that results in a 10% decrease. It just seems that the numbers are, for most of the units, they're all 10% increase, and two units one has had a decrease, and one has only had a 2% increase. And then the unit below me, 110, has only had a 4.4% over 2 years. So I don't know, it doesn't lend to consistency within the building, is my argument.
Okay. Ms. Larson, did you respond to the questions?
Some changes in the square footage may have resulted in some differing changes. On 204, I guess, unit 110, which is a 1,087 square foot unit, is $595,900. It, in comparison, even though it is only a 4% change, its assessment in comparison to the 961 square foot at $544,300 are still quite comparable. And I think that's the point is not necessarily the percent increases from year to year, it's the end value per square foot and what your property may realize. And there may be changes within different units that we've changed that affect it. It's not necessarily a percent increase for everybody that's going to be the same. The reduction, I think it was on, I'm sorry, what? 205, it's at 630, 300. Again, it's a 1,410 square foot unit, and there's some higher, some of the ones that are upward in value that are larger. So again, as something, not necessarily that it goes, everything that's on the second floor would be at the same square footage, or at this, on the third and fourth floors, the value does increase for the same size of unit. But something that's already larger might have a less value per square foot anyway, because as something gets bigger, its value per unit or per increment increase of value isn't going to be the same. You buy one thing for a certain size at 200,000, it's not going to incrementally go up like that. Something as it gets larger, the value increase is not as big. I got that explained right?
Did you also want to address the question Mr. Hunker had about the parking?
Oh, the sizes,
Yeah.
which is I think 8 by 20 is about 160 square feet. I'm going to, you minus that off of the ones that he's saying are 1,100 square feet, you get to the 900 and something that I'm using, roughly. I did note that the meters per square feet is what we use, are all on the plans, and I'm guessing a lot of this is conversion. If you do, this many meters minus this many meters, and you come up with, I'm guessing they're going to be close, but they're not going to be exactly to what.
Okay.
And I don't have the equipment that he has either, so.
You had a further question?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
So, sorry. In regards back to the table B, it just seems that the vast majority of the units that you've come up with, the adjusted sales price and then the price per square foot, is, I don't understand. I've been inside unit 205. It's finished the same way as everything else. Yes, it's larger than my unit. It's just showing to be significantly well over $100 a square foot lower, which is a significant amount than most of the other units. And again, going back to as you increase in height due to view, the value should go up. It just, like that one appears to be an anomaly or something.
Okay.
So Unit 205, your question is about?
Yeah.
Yes, Madame.
Okay.
So in answering that, on Unit 205, so the assessment was reduced to 630, 300. If you go to Table A in my page 3, at the bottom, there are 2 sales for Unit 205. They originally sold in 2016 for $597. It sold again in 2017 for $605. The adjusted sale price indicates it at $668, which may be a little off based on our medians, but the assessment is now at $630,300 for 2018. So it's, I think, within the ranges. I mean, it sold in 2017 for $605. So our value for 2018, we're indicating at $630,300 for a 1,400 square foot property. So I guess it's an indicator, obviously, that that particular unit at 1,400 square feet should be valued at a little bit less. I mean, the one above it is valued or sold at $710. Above it in the chart, sorry. Number's 20479 roll number, sold twice, which is 111 600 Spring Creek Drive. And there again, they're at $710,000 and $729,000 for 1,300 square feet. 1,398 square feet. So with that, assessment isn't site-specific as it as a fee simple appraisal is. We use medians and it's mass appraisal, so there will be anomalies.
Any further questions?
I would just like to be part of that anomaly. Because $100 and some a square foot is a significant amount. No further questions.
Okay, and board member questions? Karen? Questions? Martin?
Just in general terms, looking at the plan, it's interesting to know how, for lack of a better term, convoluted the floor layouts are. There's many permutations, different angles, things like that. But I also notice things such as some of the units are stuck in the middle of other units on either side. Some are border against common property. All those sorts of things factor into the assessment, do they not?
Yes, they do. For the most part, properties on the interior side would definitely have an effect, but there are adjustments, and I'd indicated that before. Say 1% for floors going up, something might have a 1% added for a better view. Something might have 1% less because it's beside the garbage. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Those are added in differently for different properties.
So those are all taken into consideration.
It is all taken into consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hunker, you now have the opportunity for your rebuttal evidence, if you would like to make a presentation on that.
I'm sorry, Madame, I couldn't hear.
So that would be your rebuttal evidence of, in response to Ms. Larson's presentation, if any.
On what she, okay.
And
on
you
what
will have a separate
yeah.
opportunity to make a final argument and summary of your argument.
The only thing, again, like it says, there should be some consistency within the building as far as the units are all similar in finishing, and to have such an anomaly exist doesn't give confidence in other owners that their price is correct. The Real Estate Council of Alberta actually states, and they have a bulletin out, that properties are to be measured, residential properties of half duplexes, townhouses, and condominiums are measured inside paint to inside paint. And that's why I'm still disputing the square footages that are reported. They're inaccurate. And that's the only rebuttal I have, is that they are not accurate.
Okay. And Ms. Larson, did you have any questions in response to Mr. Hunker's rebuttal?
I don't really have any questions. I'm going to make a statement on the square footage. Just that we get our information from land titles, and that's what we have to go by. We only have what we have.
Okay. And board questions? Karen? Martin? Okay. Great. And so finally, I would ask you again if you would like to make a summary of your argument.
Well, my final statement is, like, if they get the information from Land Titles has reported the legal registered size and all the units, and it is as per that registered plan. And that's why I'm saying, even factoring out some parking stalls, some being single, some being double, I don't come up with the areas that are shown on there. And then when you have a wrong area, and then you're multiplying that area of a unit by a price per square foot, whether it's the actual sale price or the adjusted sale price, which I guess I didn't actually get or if you said it, Kelly, I'm sorry I didn't hear, is how you came up with adjusted values when market dictates an actual value when it's sold and the property's sold, and then these values have all increased to drive the price per square foot up. So that's the only issue that I still am unclear on. Sorry.
Ms. Lasso? Sure, of course. Take your time.
The price per square foot would be a time adjusted, so something that sold in 2016, so we want to get to our valuation date of July 1st, 2018. So in order to do so, something that sold in 2015 would be different in 2018, so we're time adjusted based on an analysis of sales within the community, of residential sales, of what's charted and what's happening. So you follow those residential sales and the values are increasing at whatever rate per month, and that's applied to the sales every month to get to that time adjusted value. Trying to find my time adjustments that I had yesterday brought here. So I can do this. So the time adjusted sales prices here are from July of 2015 to December of 2018. So that's all the sales that we have to use as per what we're asked to do by the provincial government, at least 3 years worth of sales. And so then each sale is plotted into here, and we use the best line to fit. You can see the blue mark there starts where the beginning would be, and we get to another point here. Normally that line would go straight across, which would have created inequity bringing these ones up. So we brought it down to this point here, then brought it up, and it flattened again at the end of 2018. Sorry. And July 1st, you see 2018. That is our 100% point. So everything would be at 100% of its value at that time. It's better shown in this chart. I'll just bring this in here. So, for example, you can see 2018 in there. So July 1st, 2018 at the bottom here. Across, you see the blue line is the adjustments to every sale. And so it's at 100%. So anything that's sold in July would be at 100%. Anything after July goes down. So if I use sales up to December 2018, anything the other way, they go upwards. And so everybody is adjusted equally with these adjustments. So that's where the time adjustments come from. And as you can see, there's a number of sales used in that. So like in any given month. So like in July, for example, there were 52 sales used to determine that. So we have a significant amount of sales to prove this information, showing us that things are averaging or running along that average. And I think if I go back to the first page here, it'll indicate to you here too. So it tells you in 1 year at the very top there, the difference between July 1st, 2017 and July 1st, 2018 was 7.65% in sales price. So does that answer? Kind of.
So, Mr. Hunker, you are entitled to a last word if you would like to have one.
Just one final comment. I guess these sales and comparisons are to all kinds of properties in Canmore. Again, being in a age-restricted building, we're finding that, and 3 different companies that I have referenced, that our marketability has decreased significantly due to the age restriction, and CMHC will not even lend money out to mortgage or insure properties because an age restriction is a human rights violation, and our marketability has decreased, they say, to an age restriction building by 20 or 30%. And that's the only comment I have to make is her numbers are all right for single-family residential and probably multifamily duplexes. We find we have one unit in particular that's been for sale for 5 years, and it's just, I sit on the condo board and I know that, and they have not been able to get a sale, and they are priced less than some of the new marketed units. So it's just that, again, what Kelly's presenting is, is a little bit confusing, but I don't know if it is totally applicable for the building we're in. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. So thank you everyone for your cooperation and also for your helpful presentations. At this time I'd like to ask both parties if they feel they have been heard today and if they feel they have received a fair hearing.
Yes.
Okay. I will now declare the hearing closed. No further evidence or submissions may be received by the board. The Municipal Government Act requires a decision within 30 days and gives the clerk an additional 7 days to issue that decision. We'll make every effort to meet or beat those requirements, and the clerk will forward our decision to you at our earliest opportunity. I'll now ask all parties and attendees to please exit the room via the rear doors. Thank you very much.